All right, we'll get started and seek a motion to for approval of items C and D as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay. Motion's approved. Report from student representatives and student recognition.
Okay, so tonight we're going to change things up just a little bit. Normally we have our student council representatives who are here, but we have exhausted our list for the most part, especially with spring sports and jobs and all the other activities. So a couple of things that I just want to bring to the school board's attention, and I'm going to pass this stuff, or well, show it to you at least. So math team this year took second place out of in the math league competition at the high school. This has been quite an accomplishment. In fact, they've had they were having better scores than some much bigger schools. So schools, I would say 10 times our size.
Wow.
We were putting out better scores. But our math league did take second place this year. In a moment, I'll let Miss Christie talk on her math league. The other item there, if you want to take a look before you leave, is our yearbook cover that the yearbook selected this year. And then in terms of other student recognitions, we've had quite a bit going on. We want to make sure that we congratulate David Smith and Christopher Shields on receiving first at State Solo and Ensemble. Evan Goodmanson, Molly Hannigan, and Megan Shields all received second ratings at State Solo and Ensemble. About 2.5, 3 weeks ago now, I want to say I enjoyed a meal with David Smith and his parents at the Cole Scholarship Luncheon that was held. David was one of the Cole Scholarship winners. What was amazing at that, they basically started out saying to all of the recipients that they should throw away their letters on receiving the scholarship. That the recipients, this is a luncheon with 50 or 60 Cole Scholarship recipients. Yep, throw away your letters, they're no good. And everybody kind of looked around the room, and then finally the presenter said, Mr. Cole has decided that the $3,000 scholarship that he was awarding this year will now be a $5,000 scholarship.
Wow.
So last year he
Wow.
doubled the award from $1,500 to $3,000, and this year he has added an additional $2,000 to the Cole Scholarship.
Awesome.
It was really an amazing event. He does show up at each of those events and speaks, and so that was quite the event to be at. We also recently had Earth Day, but 2 weeks ago, and maybe almost 3 weeks ago now, I guess. 2.5 weeks ago? Damn. It was a great day. The weather turned out perfect. In the afternoon, the students participated in some community service projects out at the Environmental Learning Center and some around the high school building. And in the morning, we had guest speakers from many different vocations, talking a variety of subjects. We had some community members as well attend some of those sessions. It was very well done. We had catered fish tacos available to anybody for a nominal fee, but the Ecology Club sought donations for Great Lakes whitefish, as well as other donations, and for a very nominal fee they were able to offer this catered fish taco luncheon. It was excellent. The majority of the students the majority of the students and staff ate that rather than the regular hot lunch that day. It was just something really special. So, and finally, I'm just going to comment for a moment on forensics. Our forensics had an excellent year at state. And in a moment, you're going to hear from Hope Bristow, who was one of our forensic students. But in play acting, David Smith, Ethan Saylor, Austin Goodenough, and Jared Joslin received a gold. Play acting, Ian Gibbs, Cordell Gruber, Sadie Sweeney, Caitlin Lip received the gold. Hope, you received the gold. And those were perfect golds, correct?
Yes.
They were 25 out of 25 perfect, as well as Logan Goodenough, also receiving gold, 25 out of 25. And then Monica Sands, Angie Kuhn, and Sierra Moan received the silver. They were 24 out of 25. So, before you go, Hope, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Christie for one item, and then we'll introduce you.
Okay. Just to add on to Mr. Kernan with the math competition, there was also a junior high math competition that Miss Wilcom took students to, and if you see over there, there's a second place award that 6 of our middle school students received second place in the junior math league competition at the middle school levels. So there were also 6 students from the middle school that also fared very well at that competition. That's it. You can go now.
And now I'd like to introduce Hope Bristow. She is a junior this year at John Edwards High School, and she is going to share with you her poetry piece from Forensics.
Hi.
Oh.
So my poem is called To This Day. I have an intro for it, so I'll do that for you. In my own life, I've been forced to deal with my fair share of bullies. Who hasn't? But because I chose to stand up for myself and for others, I've learned so much and have helped others to learn along the way as well. Shane Koisen wrote To This Day because he himself wants to further explore the lasting impact that bullying can have on an individual. We can give them a starting point, a message that will have a far-reaching and long-lasting effect in confronting bullying. To This Day by Shane Koisen. When I was a kid, I used to think that pork chops and karate chops were the same thing. I thought they were both pork chops. And because my grandmother thought it was cute, and because they were my favorite, she let me keep doing it. Not really a big deal. One day, before I realized that fat kids are not designed to climb trees, I fell out of a tree and bruised the right side of my body. I didn't want to tell my grandmother about it, because I was afraid I'd get in trouble for playing somewhere that I shouldn't have been. A few days later, the gym teacher noticed the bruise, and I got sent to the principal's office. From there, I was sent to another small room with a really nice lady who asked me all kinds of questions about my life at home. Well, I saw no reason to lie. As far as I was concerned, life was pretty good. I told her, whenever I'm sad, my grandmother gives me karate chops. This led to a full-scale investigation, and I was removed from the house for 3 days. News of this silly little story quickly spread through the school, and I earned my first nickname, Pork Chop. To this day, I hate pork chops. I'm not the only kid who grew up this way, surrounded by people who used to say that rhyme about sticks and stones. As if broken bones hurt more than the names we got called, and we got called them all. So we grew up believing that no one would ever fall in love with us, that we'd be lonely forever, that we'd never meet someone to make us feel like the sun was something they built for us in their tool shed. So broken heartstrings bled the blues as we tried to empty ourselves so we would feel nothing. Don't tell me that hurts less than a broken bone. That an ingrown life is something that surgeons can just cut away. That there's no way for it to metastasize. It does. She was just 8 years old. Our first day of grade 3, when she got called ugly. We got moved to the back of the class so we would stop getting bombarded by spitballs. But the school halls were a battleground where we found ourselves outnumbered day after wretched day. We used to stay inside for recess because outside was worse. Outside we'd have to rehearse running away or learn to stand still like statues, giving no clues that we were there. In grade 5, they taped a sign to her desk that read, "Beware of dog." To this day, despite a loving husband, she doesn't think she's beautiful because of a birthmark that takes up a little less than half of her face. Kids used to say she looks like a wrong answer that someone tried to erase, but couldn't quite get the job done. And they'll never understand that she's raising 2 kids whose definition of beauty begins with the word mom, because they see her heart before they see her skin. That she's only ever been amazing. He was a broken branch, grafted onto a different family tree, adopted. But not because his parents opted for a different destiny. He was 3 when he became a mixed drink of 1 part left alone, 2 parts tragedy. Started therapy in 8th grade, had a personality made up of tests and pills, lived like the uphills were mountains and the downhills were cliffs. 4/5 suicidal. A tidal wave of antidepressants, and an adolescence of being called pauper. 1 part because of the pills, and 99 parts because of the cruelty. He tried to kill himself in grade 10 when a kid who still had his mom and dad had the audacity to tell him, "Get over it." As if a depression is something that can be remedied by any of the contents found in a first aid kit. To this day, he is a stick on TNT lit from both ends. Could describe to you in detail the way the sky bends in the moments before it's about to fall. And despite an army of friends who all call him an inspiration, he remains a conversation piece between people who can't understand sometimes becoming drug-free has less to do with addiction and more to do with sanity. To this day, kids are still being called names. The classics were, "Hey stupid," "Hey spaz." Seems like each school has an arsenal of names getting updated each year. And if a kid breaks in school and no one around chooses to hear, do they make a sound? Or are they just the background noise of a soundtrack stuck on repeat when people say things like kids can be cruel? Every school was a big top circus tent, and the order went from acrobats to lion tamers, from clowns to carnies. All of these were miles ahead of who we were. We were freaks. Lobster claw boys, bearded ladies, oddities really. Juggling depression and loneliness, playing solitaire spin the bottle, trying to kiss the wounded parts of ourselves and heal. But at night, while the others slept, we kept walking the tightrope. It was practice, and yeah, some of us fell. But I want to tell them that all of this crap is just debris, left over when we finally decide to smash the things we thought we used to be. And if you can't see anything beautiful about yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer, stare a little longer, because there is something inside of you that made you keep trying, despite everyone who told you to quit. You built a cast around your broken heart. You signed it. You signed it yourself. You signed it they were wrong. Because maybe you didn't belong to a group or a clique. Maybe they decided to pick you last for basketball or everything. Maybe you used to bring bruises and broken teeth to show and tell, but never told, because how can you hold your ground if everyone around you wants to bury you beneath it? You have to believe that they were wrong. They have to be wrong. Why else would we still be here? We grew up learning to cheer on the underdog because we see ourselves in them. We stem from a root planted in the belief that we are not what we were called. We are not abandoned cars stalled out, sitting empty on a highway. And if in some way we are, don't worry. We only got out to walk and get gas. We are graduating members from the class of We Made It. Not the faded echoes of voices crying out, "Names will never hurt me." Of course they did. But our lives will only ever always continue to be a balancing act. It has less to do with pain and more to do with beauty. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 5, President's Report. All the board members are in attendance tonight. Our next board meeting is June 13th, and July meeting is July 11th. And we don't want to, we'll wait for August. Yeah.
And with the, just on a note on the board meeting schedule, with the open enrollments being on this session tonight, we won't have to meet in a special session to do the open enrollments
Okay.
like we've typically had to.
Okay.
So we worked to get those on this one, so,
So the June meeting will be at 5:30.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Unless
we-
something.
Unless something else happens.
yeah, so, yep.
All right. C, proclamation, School Nutrition Employee Week. Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, a proclamation. Whereas school nutrition employees provide nutritious, well-balanced, reasonably priced meals to more than 500,000 Wisconsin school children each day. And whereas meals prepared and served by school nutrition employees may significantly enhance the student learning environments, allowing children to concentrate on graduating with the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in the workplace or towards further studies, a primary goal of every child to graduate, college, and career ready. And whereas school nutrition employees creatively nurture partnerships with parents, teachers, community groups, and governmental personnel to promote the nutritional values of their programs. And whereas school nutrition employees provide a caring, respectful school food service environment, therefore, be it resolved that I, Tony Evers, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, do hereby proclaim May 2nd through the 6th, 2016, as School Nutrition Employee Week in the state of Wisconsin. Alright.
Although we did not we did staff recognition last week. Following the audit of the food service, I did recognize the food service staff as a group together at one of their meetings and spoke with them about the good work they had done, especially during that time. So,
Administrative reports.
I just want to take a couple of minutes and report on in-service this past Friday. We've been working over the past 3 or 4 months with our science teachers, to some degree, working on looking at and unpacking the next generation science standards. And we've started that with the high school and middle school staff. We did include Miss Pickett from the elementary this past Friday, and looking at this new set of science standards. So that staff, which was the 4 science teachers at those grade levels, spent most of Friday working with a CISA employee, looking at the specific new set of standards out there in science. The rest of the staff, we took a trip to visit and learn about the Ho-Chunk Nation, and then also learn about how the Black River Falls School District interacts with the Ho-Chunk Nation. This came about because this past year, we have been what is considered a Title VII school. We receive federal funding for Native American education. What we don't receive. We don't receive an amount of funding that we have all kinds of extra dollars available. What it has helped us provide this year is some tutoring services and some one-on-one services with some of our Native American students, as well as there's some coordination of some parent activities and other elements that are part of that. We have partnered with Nakusa School District this year to make that work. Otherwise, our dollar amount that we receive becomes very negligible. It becomes very difficult for us to go out and hire somebody to do that. So we've worked with them on that. We've also included as kind of a bigger consortium, Wisconsin Rapids, with some of the activities. And so Jessica McMillan, the Title VII coordinator for Wisconsin Rapids, Nakusa, and Port Edwards, had worked in the fall with the Ho-Chunk Nation to set up a series of tours for teachers to help teachers become more familiar with the Ho-Chunk Nation. In the fall, Mr. Miller went on one of those tours, and then again they were offering a tour in the spring. And at that time I kind of made the suggestion, I said, well, rather than piecemealing our staff over a couple of years on these tours, why don't we try to get the majority of our staff all in one? Because we're at a size where we could do that relatively efficiently. So, with the exception of that science group, the entire staff spent a day touring and visiting with and talking with folks from the Ho-Chunk Nation and Black River Falls School District. We met with Nahoma Thundercloud, who is the education director for the Ho-Chunk Nation, Jessica McMillan, who is our Title VII coordinator, as well as Michelle Cloud. So we got everybody on a bus and we spent the day. We went out to Black River Falls. The bus ride was learning and education on the bus ride. So we were engaged during the bus ride with different questions. It was a question and answer session. Once we arrived at the tribal government offices, we were given a tour, and then as well met with some of the clan mothers. We were provided an awesome lunch, as well as then an opportunity to hear from Kelly Severson, Dr. Kelly Severson, the superintendent at Black River Falls School District, and their curriculum director on how they've built relationships. I would say, I don't know, Kara, I learned many new things that I did not know about the Ho-Chunk Nation, about the relationships that they have in our communities, how culturally the Ho-Chunk Nation is set up and operates, and what some of those cultural beliefs are. So it's a really good opportunity. Every one of our teachers walked away with a copy of this book, Explore Native Wisconsin, which talks about the tribes in Wisconsin. It gives a little bit of information on each of the tribes, and I'll pass that around if people want to look at that, as well as, again, some of the information on the Ho-Chunk culture. So it was a different day for our staff. We haven't done anything like that since I've been here, but thought it was a good opportunity to learn. So that was in-service day on May 6th.
What is percentage of Native American?
You're asking me that. It's kind of a tenuous answer. Those who identify only as Native American, I want to say it's 2.5%. However, I can't account for, we don't have an easy way to account for those students who select 2 or more. And there are those who select none. They don't give you a great answer. So I would suspect it's more than that, but probably not. I don't think it's more than 5%. And the percentage, I want to say, here at the elementary is a little bit higher than at the middle school, high school at the moment. So, and just I guess to finalize that, we did not qualify next year for Title VII funds. We missed by 1 student. However, Nakusa and Wisconsin Rapids Nakusa has indicated just a desire. Jessica, Title VII coordinators, expressed a desire to keep us involved to the extent possible. We may not be able to enjoy the services of the mentor that comes in and whatnot, but we can at least be involved in the meetings and whatnot. It really boils down to identification. We believe we could have probably qualified, but it takes people to self-identify and sign paperwork, and so we were 1 shy. So we will continue to try moving forward, and then, like I said, we're not going to be left out. So it was probably even a better time for us to go because their focus will probably be more on Nakusa and Wisconsin Rapids, but again, they're not going to leave us out of discussions. So
Good. All right. Principal Christie.
On April 27th, we had the annual volunteer lunch. It's where anyone who volunteers in our school is invited to a lunch provided by the teachers. The teachers all bring the potluck. We had over 40 people attend this year. The theme was, it was ironic because we had kind of the theme was volunteer holding an umbrella over, like a little elephant holding an umbrella over a mouse, and it downpoured that day, so it was actually perfect. We had some entertainment. We had our second graders do some entertainment, a little song, and we also had Mrs. Severson's group, the Romettes, who are a tap dance group, come in and perform. So we had some excellent entertainment. And let's see, the last day of school activities. On the last day of school, Peepo has volunteered to come in and do activities with the kids in the afternoon. We have about 18 parent volunteers that are going to cover stations outside that the kids are going to do activities. Between them and our aides, the teachers will have a little time to get report cards done and clean their rooms and things while the kids are outside doing relay races, and they're bringing in a giant Jenga, where you remove the pieces, some other games and fun like that. So Peepo has completely taken that on, and they've done a great job organizing it, and they're working on assigning, people to different stations so that the kids can have a fun day outside. So everyone, knock on wood, that we have nice weather.
Thank you. Questions and comments from people in attendance? We have no one. So consent agenda. Seek a motion to approve 8 and 9. Is there any gifts
No gifts.
this month?
No.
So move.
Motion, second. Any discussion on consent agenda? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Consent agenda is approved. No unfinished business. New business, number 10, consider approval of 2016-17 middle high school handbook.
Most of the changes this year in the handbook are, there are no major policy revisions or anything in the handbook. Updating some of the language in between the two handbooks in terms of, rather than saying Walkman, because the old language said Walkman, we've changed it to electronic devices. Dealing with just general updates to this calendar, the report cards, tardiness procedures, probably reflects more what is practiced, so the changes there reflect probably more what's practiced. Items in the school wellness area reflect what needs to be current practice and policy based on our food lunch audits and some requirements with our wellness program, along with the cafeteria and hot lunch program. Again, it reflects more of the current practice. And then the graduation requirements, at least in the high school book, reflect the addition of that civics exam to the graduation requirements. So I don't know if you want to talk about anything else in the middle school book?
Pretty much covered it. They're very similar. Other than the addition of the graduation requirements, they're very similar.
Middle and high school students are given a copy of the handbook at the beginning of the school year every year.
Yes, and that's actually why we come to you this early in the year. We come to you in May because we print that as part of an agenda book.
Sure.
And in order to, it's going to sound strange, but in order to keep our costs down, the sooner we submit it to the printer,
Sure.
the lower our cost is. So,
Is there any history in the last year or so that either of you can recall where a middle or high school parent or student had any issue with, or disputed, or said it wasn't clear, or in any way found objection to a situation in the handbook that perhaps could be remedied by a change? Has there been any dispute of any sort that you can recall?
To be honest, it actually is the opposite, where we refer to the handbook and then the parents see where that is as a policy in the handbook, and it helps end disputes instead of start them. So.
Well, and the beginning of that handbook, that language that was adopted at the beginning, dealing with restorative practices and the 5 R's, that language really actually helps us a lot. Your question is interesting. I read a book once and it was titled to the effect of, you didn't tell me it was a rule not to throw fish.
Right,
And
Yeah.
so you can become
exactly.
you can get over specific, but you also don't want to be
Yep.
so non-clear. That's a balancing act.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Generality is sometimes a good thing.
So and the elementary, any changes to the elementary handbook will come later on. That one is done a little differently than these two handbooks, so.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the 2016-2017 middle high school handbook.
I move.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. It's approved. Consider approval of staff handbook changes.
The handbook changes are relative to the insurance plan changes. Because we changed the insurance plan and how that was set, now this brings the staff handbook into line with what the changes were on the insurance program. So that, I am sure we're going to come to you later on again with we typically come to you in some point in the summer with a handbook revision, but we've obviously had to make some along the way here this year due to a couple of circumstances, and this is one of them. This allows us now to put into force the insurance program. So.
Right. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It's approved. Consider approval of 2016-2017 staffing plan. Do we need any more discussion on that? That was discussed in closed session.
No, just recommend approval as
As
we
discussed in closed session. I have a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Approved. Consider approval of one FTE teaching position assigned to kindergarten.
So
That
moved.
motion.
Motion by Kathy, second by Joe.
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion is approved. Consider approval of 2016-17 employee contract. One FTE reading specialist / special education. Natalie Brown.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. It's approved. Consider approval of non-resident pupils 2016-17 school year open enrollment application.
And just to comment on those are new applications, so those who are already covered under open enrollment did not have to reapply. So,
Oh, okay.
I
just so that you know that.
There's a
so
motion by Kathy. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion is approved. Consider approval of 2016-2017 lunch, breakfast, and milk prices.
So each year we have to, we are behind where we should be, according to the federal government, the USDA, in terms of what our lunch prices are. Because they set what are the reimbursable amounts, and so we are behind what we really should be in terms of prices. However, we are limited to the amount we can raise the price each year because they don't want you suddenly putting a 50-cent or $1 raise on lunch prices. So we're limited to 10 cents. Now, we typically, what we try to do is raise these prices so that we're talking even dollar amounts, or even coin amounts, so that we're not dealing with odd amounts of change. So you'll see we're recommending some different pricing there per grade. We are getting closer to the high school amount, and so that one's a little less, but you'll see the elementary and middle school prices. We'd recommended 10 cents, and then the high school we'd recommended 5 at the moment, and then the adult prices we had also shown an increase. At the moment, we're not recommending any increase based on the reimbursement amounts on breakfast nor on milk. So
Other than staff members, are there any adults that ever come? I know they used to come to school to eat lunch. Are
Not unless it's here.
Here we do.
Yeah, here.
We have the parent lunch and the grandparent lunch a week, and then we have
Yeah.
parents once in a while that'll stay.
But not on a regular.
Oh, you're
basis.
talking the community members?
Yeah, community members.
No,
Okay.
not really.
We used to have, regular.
Yep.
Yeah. She walked over.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the lunch, breakfast, and milk prices.
I so move.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Approved.
Each year we get a little closer on that, so some year we might not have to do that.
Conduct first reading of revised board policies. A, the graduation policy.
Really the requirement change here is, deals with students with IEPs. And it just changes a little bit of the language there. It's it allows for accommodations. Previous language on that did not allow for IEP accommodations, which really flies in the face of what the federal government says. So the state changed the law because the original law on that. So when we first wrote the policy to get it into effect, we had to follow what the state law said. The state changed it. Now we can put in here and allows some accommodation. So that's really all that policy is doing. The second policy, because you actually, all we need to do is do the readings tonight, so there's not
Right.
actually any motions tonight. The filling board vacancies policy. Is this the Kenosha or the Racine rule? Racine rule. As well, the state legislature decided that we needed to, that every school board needs to have within its policy a procedure for breaking a tie vote when filling a vacancy. I did go to the WASB and ask for sample, and I tried to get you the simplest, cleanest sample language I could, based on what I got from WASB, because I got many samples, pages and pages long. Some of these were, so in dealing with that, basically, this language allows that after so many votes, if there's still a tie, what'll ultimately happen is, so long as we've got a couple of nominees who are at least supported by 2 board members, essentially it becomes a random draw process. That again keeps it the simplest. It also makes it so that in order to get into that random draw, that at least the person has to have some support. Okay, so it's not 10 people we're random drawing from necessarily. It might only be a couple, but it gives you a hand in the process to go through applicants and say, here's where we want to head with this. And it allows for a tie to be broken. It has some language in there as well dealing with if it becomes within X number of days of an election or filling it, we're just not going to fill it. We'll just continue to operate. So I tried to keep that one as simple as I could, but yet figure a procedure to break the tie. And again, that comes from some samples that the WASB had for us. And you'll notice, I think we haven't touched that policy since 2003. Mm-hmm. So it's hopefully not one that we have to touch too often. The last item is wellness policy. Quite a few updates that came from our audit, our food service audit, in terms of the nutrition guidelines and the school programs that are being offered. One of the items that we found, for instance, our vending machines can only have Smart Snack compliant items. And because we only have one vending machine that's accessible to students, it's in the high school, middle school, the Smart Snack requirements have to be middle school requirements that it meets, not high school, because they are different. So for instance, flavored water, we actually have to shut off flavored water to our middle and high school students. Even if it's 0 calorie, if it's just got a little bit of flavoring, middle school students can't have that. So we are trying to work with our vendor to come up with But we know those items are popular after the school day too, and we have a tournament on a Saturday or practice on a Saturday. So it got to the point where the only thing we could really put in our vending machine for our middle school students was going to be water or juice. And to be honest, juice isn't even the greatest thing, but middle school students could have plain water or juice. So we're going to work with the vending machine company and see if we can't get a vending machine where we have certain items that are shut off during the day but are available later on. And that money is really money that's always been used to support student council and student activities. So I hate to see it totally go away, because that is their source of
That
revenue.
was my question, as to
Yeah.
what's the current disbursement of funds earned from those?
That's all goes to student activities. So that's their source, one of their main sources of revenue for the student council. So the other item that's in here is health and wellness curriculum. We had nothing currently in the curriculum on human growth and development, or nothing in the policy that addressed that. We had a few areas in the curriculum that touch on it. So we wanted to make sure that as well was in policy. So that piece as well. And then a wellness policy committee is designated, and it shows who is on that. I don't know if Kara, is there any more on that one you want to add to it?
Until we look at that curriculum with the, I'm writing notes here. just
Yeah,
so
there's some
everyone
state
doesn't-
standards and curriculum ideas behind the human growth and
Yeah.
development. I guess we're gonna proceed cautiously and just make sure that but we wanted to at least address it in the policy too.
And make sure that it's not crossing over, because in our middle school, we have the choices class and a health class. So to make sure that they're covering both the, physical, mental, social, emotional, that all gets covered, and that we're not double dipping in one area and completely missing in other areas.
So next month we'll have those readings back for approval.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Number 18, opportunity of individual board member comment. Tracy? Anything? Kathy?
I'm just so proud of our students. They've
Yeah.
done so well, and and it's not just athletics. I think that's great that we're looking at the other areas also. I mean, athletics is wonderful, and we do well there, but these things are extraordinary, and we need to really let people know.
Yeah.
Just remind staff, students, everybody of the garage sale on the 21st. We're still looking for any helpers for the hapless Mr. Cronin and the behind the fire station experience.
Loading dock.
Hopefully he will not become the Easter Seal chiropractic poster child as a result of his efforts. So if anybody has got some free time after about 1 or 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, you might want to go over and bring Kyle some Vicks and some liniment and a cold drink and help him out a little bit.
I don't mind loading the truck. It's enjoyable. Joe?
Nope, nothing tonight.
All right. I just wanted to remind people about the senior dessert
Yes.
coming up Wednesday, May 18th. So it's a good time. We celebrate all the seniors and everything that they have accomplished. So it's a good event. And also I'm the food drive coordinator for the Stamp Out Hunger food drive in Rapids and Port. And they do it in Nakusa as well. So, and that's coming up May 14th. I just remind people to leave a bag of food by their mailbox on Saturday, May 14th, and the letter carrier will pick it up.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
About the bank mailboxes. My mailbox in my subdivision is a big bank. You just leave it on top of
Yeah,
it?
you can leave it on top or on the ground. That's fine too. We'll get it. Yeah. All right. Number 19, establish future board meetings. We have the June and July. Do we want to set August or just wait?
Is there any merit in moving the August meeting a little later in the month if there are things
We
coming up?
typically have done that one, not on the second Monday, but I think we've typically done that on the third Monday the last few years.
15th.
Be the 15th? there might be more chance that I will be here. I doubt that I will be here on August 8th.
And that usually accommodates in case, again, we have any things coming out of the state that we have to update, any other items that are right before the school year. It helps us that way, so.
Shoot for the 15th in August.
I would suggest the 15th.
Yeah. All right. Seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.